Chicago Tonight, Black Voices is made possible in part by Fifth Third Bank and by the support of these donors.
At Fifth Third, we believe when diverse voices are heard and empowered, communities are made stronger, lives are made better, and the future holds greater promise for all. That's why we're proud to support Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can drive change.
Good evening and welcome to Chicago Tonight Black Voices. I'm Angel Ito. Brandis Friedman has the evening off. Thanks for sharing a part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight, internet access has become a critical component of education as families prepare to send kids back to school. We take a look at the state of digital equity in Chicago. And local Amazon workers say the company didn't properly address racist death threats and punished employees when they spoke out. And the homegrown music festival Purple Block Party is coming to the West Side next weekend. We talk with the event planners to hear what's in store. First off tonight, internet access has become something like a utility, difficult if not impossible to live without. And as school starts back up, students especially rely on the internet. But for some of those students, reliable internet access is still tough to come by. A recent analysis finds that 80% of Chicago households have internet connection, but disparities still linger on the south and west sides where up to 40% of households lack access. A number of private and public programs are working to address that disparity. Now, Comcast recently announced a partnership with the YMCA of Metropolitan Chicago aimed at advancing digital access and internet navigation skills at 6 YMCA locations. Joining us are Carl Jones Jr., Vice President of External and Government Affairs for Comcast Greater Chicago Region, CLAIBORNE Wade, Family-Focused Lawndale Parent Liaison, and Daniel Anello, CEO of Kids First Chicago. Thank you all so much for joining us. Carl, let's start with you. Can you explain the Digital Navigator program and Comcast's partnership with the Y?
Certainly, Angel, and thank you for having us. Great to be here with Daniel and with CLAIBORNE as well. I'll take a step back. Comcast has been in the digital equity sort of realm of work for well over a decade, back to 2011 when we launched Internet Essentials from the Woodson Regional Library. For us, digital equity isn't something that is new, but digital equity is something that we can all strive to enhance and improve upon. We talk about digital equity in a number of ways, access and adoption. Here in Chicago, all the 77 neighborhoods, we have access to internet, but how do you get folks to adopt? Between programs like Internet Essentials, the Affordable Connectivity Program, and programs like Chicago Connected, which will launch with such great partners like Kids First and the sort of convening of our administration, the question of cost can basically be removed from the table. However, there are other issues you must think about when it comes to digital equity. You kind of touched upon that, and that is how do you close that divide between those hard-to-reach areas? And that's through a program called Digital Navigators. And Digital Navigators really exist to help do a couple of things. They ensure that people have digital skills necessary to use computers, but also to be able to navigate the internet. We really want to make sure that from our seniors to our youth, from our collaborators to our innovators, that people are able to participate in a world of unlimited possibilities, and that is accessible through the internet. We know how important it is, and we are excited to be a part of helping to close that gap. We know that there is still much work to be done, so that's why we partner with people like the YMCA. They are one of many of our partners. But we know that trusted partners are necessary in order to get out there to help close that gap, that 15 or 20% that you sort of mentioned. So that is really sort of why we're so engaged and involved with partners like the YMCA.
Now, Daniel, let's jump to you. The pandemic has brought a lot of attention to the issue of internet access equity. Have programs like Chicago Connected and Project Up actually been successful in advancing equity over the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you. It's nice to be here with everyone. But I think that the outcome of Chicago Connected is something that a lot of us didn't expect to be as tremendous as it's been. We really were just trying to collaborate and come together and stand up a program that could connect kids and families as fast as possible when COVID hit and we all kind of went into shutdown mode. But today the program is serving 77,000 CPS students alone. There's some other students that are also part of it through community colleges and some of the private schools. But there's 77,000 students that are on the program and 42,000 households. And when we started looking at data, and the caveat I have here is that this is 2020 ACS data, so it's not even the full length of the program. But we're seeing a pretty remarkable impact from Chicago Connected when you look at the number of kids under the age of 18 and how much they're connected today. That number was 1 in 5, which is the 20% that was cited. But when you look across the city today, it's been cut in half. It's about 1 in 10. Whereas if you look at the entire population, where it's kind of the next horizon of this work and really some of the work that Comcast is helping lead is how do we connect everybody? And that's where that 1 in 5 is still real, because for every household with kids in it, there's 2 that are households that don't have kids in them. So Chicago Connected, we see the impact, and you can see it just in that kind of comparison of data. But there's another frontier to this work that we still have to dig on.
Now, Claiborne, tell me, would you say the people in your community that have received assistance from Chicago Connected feel like they're benefiting from the program?
Yes, Angel, good to be here with you, and good to be here with Dan and my fellow co-hosts here. The parents that I work with at the Priest who are benefiting from the Chicago Connected program are extremely excited to be a part of the program, and that they're feeling as if they are receiving the benefits from the program. High-speed internet, and they're not even have to pay for it. So I think that's wonderful. As long as we continue to invest in our underserved communities, we'll definitely see them soar high.
And Carl, let's jump back to you. Can you tell me a little bit about the responsibility that corporations like Comcast have for addressing these kinds of inequities?
Yeah, great question. And that's one of the reasons we launched Project Up. We know that we have a part to play in this. And that part sort of deals with helping, as I sort of mentioned, young kids, sort of our innovators, our creators, those people who are going to be exposed to the digital world. We know that you need access to jobs, to healthcare, and the internet really helps close that gap. It kind of helps take folks from where they are to where they can be. And we know that as a media and technology company, we play an important part, but only one part, right? Our part is to also be good partners inside the community and make sure that we're finding those people who have trust, who have those connections inside of the neighborhoods that we don't have, to help close that gap. So it's our responsibility to be a good sort of corporate partner through helping to close the digital divide, through having projects like Project Up, but also investing in our communities and having great partners to collaborate with, to help teach us things and help work with us so we can help close that gap. And I think there will always be some work for us in that space. We know that access and adoption are only one sort of piece of the puzzle. Is how do you get over those barriers that are beyond access and adoption, having trusted community partners help us do that.
Now, Daniel, would you say that there are factors preventing internet access that have persisted throughout the increased access?
Yeah, I think that, as much as we've moved the needle on the connectivity, I think the fact that there's, 1 in 5 or 20% of Chicagoans still aren't connected to the internet speaks volumes just in terms of what we still have to do. I think some of that comes down to having local community partners be the ones that are bringing something like Chicago Connected or even this new project through Comcast to the community to help them understand that it is free and there's opportunities. I mean, Chicago Connected, we partnered with 35 community-based organizations. Many of them are still supporting on the digital literacy front. And then once you get there, I think we're talking about this is a three-legged stool when we talk about digital equity. You have the connectivity piece that we're talking about in terms of internet, but you also have the digital literacy piece, which Carl hit on a little bit, and then do people have devices in their homes? And one of the successes of Chicago Connected, that's kind of a quiet one, is the digital literacy side, where we've been working with a digital council of different stakeholders from across the city, including parents like CLAIBORNE, who have really kind of designed a free digital literacy program that's available. You can find it on CPS's website at cps.edu/getconnected. That, there's been 15,000 hours of log time just in terms of people getting certifications and trying to get training for jobs, in addition to people going on to learn how to use the internet or use email. And then the final piece I think is important is we have to think about devices. And when we look at data right now and we think about connectivity, there are still that the number of the people with devices looks like it's improved, but the reality is people are actually getting smartphones when you unpack the data. And you realize that laptops and computers hasn't really changed that much in terms of which households have access and which ones don't. That number. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you brought up an interesting point about digital literacy, and I thought it would be good to end with this last question to Claiborne of wondering if adults in the community are feeling comfortable navigating school systems and the internet. Are there still gaps that need to be addressed?
Well, there's always room for improvement, but some of the things that we worked on at the Priest for our parents is we brought in classes for parents to understand how to understand how to navigate Zoom, how to work Google Classroom, Google Meets. So as long as we are providing the necessary resources for our parents, for our communities, we will, continue to move forward. But as I said before, as long as we continue investing, in our communities and our kids, we will, continue to move forward in big ways.
Lots to do this upcoming school year. Well, that's all the time that we have for now. Our thanks to Carl Jones Jr., Claiborne Wade, and Daniel Anello.
Thank you.
A group of current and former employees of a Joliet Amazon warehouse are accusing the company of allowing a racially hostile work environment. They filed charges with the Equal Opportunity Commission. The charges outline racist death threats against Black employees, threats they say that came just days after the grocery store mass shooting in Buffalo that's believed to have targeted Black residents. Now, as Chicago Tonight's Nick Bloomberg reports, some of those employees also say they face retaliation from Amazon since speaking out.
We were put in a predicament where we still were in fear every day following the situation.
On May 25th, employees at Amazon's MDW2 distribution warehouse in Joliet say they found graffiti threatening the lives of Black workers.
We were told that we could go home and with no pay, or we could stay there and keep working.
Workers say Amazon didn't send a message to employees until nearly 24 hours after the threat was found. And Tori Davis says she was fired after talking with co-workers and demanding action from management.
We're not going away until they take this seriously.
Attorney Tamara Holder represents the workers in their complaint to the EEOC and says the graffiti was not the first instance of discrimination.
Men wearing Confederate flag outfits in the workplace with impunity. Complaints from workers about other workers using the N-word with impunity.
An Amazon spokesperson tells WTTW News, Amazon works hard to protect our employees from any form of discrimination and to provide an environment where employees feel safe. Hate or racism have no place in our society and are certainly not tolerated by Amazon. Holder also says Amazon has threatened and fired workers who have spoken out, saying they violated a confidentiality agreement they signed upon hiring.
The contract is written for somebody who would have trade secrets. This confidentiality agreement was not made for low-wage warehouse workers. But I believe it's a tool to silence those workers.
Nicole Porter is a professor at Chicago-Kent College of Law. She says confidentiality agreements are a way for companies to protect their trade secrets from competitors.
Special procedures that have turned out to be very efficient and effective for us, you're not allowed to talk about any of that. All right? Lots of employers do have employees sign confidentiality agreements. That's actually quite common.
But Porter says they can't be used to stop employees from speaking out about their workplace. As for the EEOC charges, among other things, the plaintiffs have to prove the racism was pervasive, unwelcome, and that the company failed to act, but it could be a long legal road ahead.
the EEOC has the opportunity to investigate. And something I think like this, where it's several plaintiffs complaining about it, the EEOC will take that more seriously than they might just like one individual employee bringing a claim.
The EEOC might file a lawsuit, call for mediation, or leave it to the plaintiffs to sue. As for the threats workers say they've faced for speaking out,
the employer cannot retaliate against any of the employees that filed a charge simply because they filed a charge. Now, proving that causation piece is sometimes difficult.
Workers want to do this work. They want a good paying job. They want to get home safely at the end of the day. But we need to see some accountability from these companies.
Warehouse Workers for Justice is a nonprofit workers center in Will County. After the death threats, they worked with Amazon employees to publicize the incident and bring their concerns to management.
But really talking to more workers at MDW2, just discovering sort of a whole host of health and safety issues, workers had concerns about. And what workers felt was inadequate pay.
Given the explosion of Amazon facilities and other warehouses in recent years, Marcos Ceniceros says his organization has a lot to tackle.
Warehousing is the #1 employer in the region, but what we see is that what does not get better is the working conditions of these workers. In fact, they're getting worse. It's important for us to do this work.
As for the EEOC charges, Tamara Holder says,
we are going to continue to gather as much information as it takes to make sure that Amazon listens to us and fixes this work environment.
For Chicago Tonight Black Voices, I'm Nick Blumberg.
An Amazon spokesperson did not respond to follow-up questions about worker claims of retaliation or of the company's confidentiality agreement. Up next, a new block party aims to celebrate the city's west side. An end of summer celebration is coming soon to the city's west side. It's the first ever Purple Block Party, and it's taking place in Garfield Park. It's an opportunity to celebrate in more ways than one, and a chance for the community to invite the city to its neighborhood and showcase what it has to offer. Joining us now with more are West Side natives, Brianna Gatlin, founder of PR group Swank PR, and MFN Mello, member of West Side hip hop collective Pivot Gang. They are also one of the block party headliners. Thank you both so much for joining us. Brianna, let's start with you. We see a lot of festivals in Douglas Park, but you decided to take this even further west to the Garfield Park Music Circle Center. Why would you say the celebration in the West Side is so important?
One of the main reasons why I did this is because the West Side does not have something that it can claim as its own. And I thought this was the perfect opportunity to just bring something that we can say is ours. And just to make sure that like our community gets the exposure to these amazing things that happen in the city. And a lot of times they don't either have access or they don't have the means or they just don't know that it's happening. And so for me, this was just very important that they were able to see the perspective of just being able to come and enjoy the festival, being in a community that shows that it's thriving and that there's just a lot happening that's not just, that there's more positivity than they realize. And so that was the idea. Plus, I went to school over there and I also am a Golden Dome, Garfield Park, summer camp alumni. So I was always in camp over there. And so I think one of the main things is like being able to also just experience the park in a different way. So, people don't get to see that side. So that was the reason that I did it.
Yes. So MFN Mello, what impact or economic impact, do you see this block party having on your community? And why would you say that the celebrations on the West Side inviting the city are so important?
I think it just sheds light on another part of the city that's that's beautiful and unique in its own right. A lot of times the West Side doesn't get those looks as far as the artists or the events or the venues and things of that nature. So the fact that she's bringing this right dead in the center of it is just amazing. It's gonna inspire. It's just gonna be a great time. It gives people something to do, something to look forward to, something to possibly look forward to going throughout the years as well. So it's just a huge bright spot.
Yes, and also that economic impact. Do you see businesses in the neighborhood responding well or doing well as a result of the block party?
Sure, there's going to be a lot of traffic going up and down those streets. So I imagine that people will stop and do the things in their local community and buy and shop and things of that nature. So the traffic alone is always great for any kind of games.
Now, not only is this a celebration for the West Side, but this is also a celebration for you, Brianna. You mentioned that this is something that you've wanted Swing PR to do for years now. What does it mean to be able to take your company to this next level with the celebration in your neighborhood?
What it means is, I think it's just another, I've always been, you know, in the industry as far as on the entertainment side and on the community side. I think this was the perfect fusion. And so there were a lot of challenges that, you know, were in my way as far as just being a small business owner, entrepreneur, and also just having, you know, the access and also the means to pull it off. So for me, it's like a dream come true. I've tried to partner with different people and it just didn't work out, you know, or the right timing. So it just ended up being the right time. And I think one of the main things was when I seen that my mom was able to pull off something, I was like, on the West Side for Juneteenth, I was like, I can do this. And so it was definitely, you know, inspiring, but also, you know, it pushed me. And so for me, it's going to open up even more opportunities, I think, you know, for not only for my company, but this is bigger than me. This is, you know, to create those opportunities for, you know, younger kids, you know, Black and brown kids to see that, you know, we can do a lot of these things and we can be in these industries on that festival, you know, production angle to present these, you know, these other opportunities of even just having those type of jobs or those type of careers. So I think, you know, this is bigger than me just doing it for my company. It's more about us being able to create that platform for people to see that we can also participate on that end and on that side versus always being, you know, on the talent side or always being the ones, you know, going up to perform. It's a totally different angle and there's so many opportunities there. Why not? You know, so it's been on my heart for a really long time to do it. So I'm just excited because it's a big picture and I just want to be, I'm the person that's helping create the platform for it.
Yeah, and you mentioned just the opportunity that you're providing for artists. The lineup is really great. We've got Baja Banks, DJ Vic Lloyd, Jim Jones, and of course Pivot Gang. Why, you just kind of touched on this a little bit, but why would you say that providing this platform for local artists is important?
Well, a lot of the local artists here, you know, sometimes there's, you know, this politics game that you have to play. So for me, I'm cutting a lot of the red tape, if that makes sense. I'm cutting a lot of the non-accessible opportunities that a lot of them, you know, there's a lot of talent here and there's so many different kinds of music. And I'm stressing that because, you know, in the last 10 years, you know, we're known for a certain kind of music, which is drill, but there's so many other kinds of music. And I love drill as far as where the originality of it and where it came from. But there's so many other kinds of, you know, angles of music and perspectives that comes from Chicago. And so I want to be able to just put it on a platform and give people that opportunity. Now, you still got to work for it, but, you know, it exists. And we need to shed light on that positive side of the music that comes from Chicago. And I feel like, again, and this is just me, I feel like the West Side doesn't get a lot of love. Well, and so it's just time for us to do it.
Yes, well, we are excited to see the diversity of music that the Purple Block Party will offer, being able to hear MFN Mello and Pivot Gang perform, as well as the other headliners. I hate that that is all of the time that we have for today, but our thanks to Brianna Gatlin and MFN Mello. back to wrap things up right after this.
Don't ever miss Chicago Tonight. Subscribe to our podcast. Get a daily download of our show delivered to your desktop or mobile device. Go to WTTW.com/Chicago Tonight podcast and subscribe.
And that's our show for this weekend. Be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News. And while you're there, you can also take a look at our Summer Festival Guide. And if you're watching us on Saturday night, know that you can also catch Black Voices and Latino Voices on Sundays beginning at 10 p.m. And join Brandis Friedman and Paris Schutz next week at 7 on Chicago Tonight. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, Black Voices, I'm Angel Ito. Thank you for sharing a part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy and safe. Good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm whose attorneys embrace a culture of philanthropy and service by volunteering their time, expertise, and guidance to help others in the greater Chicago community.